Good morning, everybody. I can't remember if I've done a field update with you guys or not, so we'll just do a field update. So this is the field. This is hard red spring wheat. We just sprayed this for Fusarium head blight. So Fusarium head blight is a fungus that develops in the head, and I've only actually seen it twice, probably. Both times back at the South Farm when we actually had rain. Anyways, you will see it, or at least I should say I saw it develop. We did not spray it, just so you know, because we don't typically spray much for fungicides down there on the cereals or even the lentils that much, because we typically just don't get enough rain. Chickpeas, absolutely. But we had a few wet years, and when the crop was, far more advanced than this, it was actually, up and filling. I'll show you right in these heads. There is no Fusarium in these heads. I'm just trying to show you what would happen. Inside these little divots, between the kernels that are going to develop, they started turning pink. And it would get a little fuzzy, and then it would be pink, and then pink, and pink. And that will be a huge yield loss to you. It was to us back home, and also not only yield loss but quality loss, because if you get too much Fusarium in your grain, the terminals will actually reject it. First of all, they'll take you from a 1 to a 2 to a 3 to a 4 to just a feed, and then too much Fusarium, it's not even a feed. Just go out and just dump it on a rock pile. It's absolutely worthless, and it is useless because animals can't even eat it. Ergot is another one. Ergot, I believe, is a fungus that kind of comes off the grass, off the ditches, grass around the sloughs, and it will infect the kernel and turn it black, like just be a big black hunk. And they're kind of fragile, so like you would be fortunate just to have the black kernel, because you're allowed like 0.03% or something. Not very much. I think if you're 0.04, which is nothing, right? They'll take you from a 1, and you can have high protein, good color, awesome looking wheat or durum. And if you get too many of these little black kernels in there, which is arrogant, they'll take you from 1 right down to a feed. No questions asked, which could maybe result from, say, $10 wheat, for example, right down to $4 or $5 wheat. Boom. You just lost that much per bushel. And if you grew a lot of bushels, believe me, it warrants spraying. So spraying costs typically around $20 to $25 an acre, depending on which fungicide that you use. The fungicide that we used will help control. I don't think anything says any Fusarium or ergot. I don't think control is actually on label. It's always just suppression. They're kind of hard, and I should mention that the window is super duper small. So typically, if your head, I do believe, you correct me if I'm wrong, but typically your head, if it starts flowering, which this one hasn't yet, so you would know if it started flowering. It would develop. I don't know if there's any here that are flowering yet, but I'm just looking around. Anyway, it would develop little flowers, not really flowers, just. It's really hard to explain, but you would definitely know that this was flowering visually by looking at it, okay? I'm told that once your crop starts to flower, you've almost windowed right out, okay? You got to kind of get it before it flowers, but also if it's still stuck in the boot, it's pretty hard to spray the head. What you have to do is spray the head, right? So it's like literally like a 3-day window, super small window. If you go too early, you're not even getting the heads because they're in the boot. If you go too late, they've already started flowering, which is just about too late. So then obviously, your control, or your hope of your control, is just decreased if you're too late, and it's decreased if you're too early. So it's a really small window. So you're literally just up here watching. Is that a flower? No. You're literally just up here watching. You're like, yeah, okay, I think we're ready. We'll spray now. So anyway, that's what we've done. We sprayed. So, enough about the fungicide. How about the crop? So as you know, we're burning up back south. Bad. We're burning up faster back south than Trudeau can spend money, and that's really saying something. And It's we'll do another crop tour when I get home. I will be going home here on the weekend. And what isn't burning up, the grasshoppers are cleaning the rest off because we have a serious grasshopper infestation. And that's just due to multiple years of drought. But this is the field that we had all that organic matter on. And it grew pretty dang good. You would never know. See if we can find some clumps. All right, there's one right here. Hold on, let me turn around. I just kind of stepped there, but right here. Look at all this. Can't even find dirt yet. Look how thick that is. So this is the field that I was actually, this chunk is about 40 acres, which was the worst. Remember the video? I'll put the video in the link of the description of this video, sorry. And if you do want to rewatch it to see what we were working with, it will be in the description of this video. But the whole field looks like this. In fact, all of our wheat looks really good up here. Up at the North Farm, we've been getting rains. They've been timely. They've been a pretty significant amount. You know, you get a 1/2 inch here, 4/10 here, maybe 1.2 inches there, which has just been amazing. Here's a little bit more organic matter right here. Okay, maybe not as much. Must have been, I think I was dragging a plug here. As you can see, my furrows are going out this way. You can see the furrows angle. It's just because I was literally just doing circles because I was plugging so much. But it all came. Looks amazing. It's wet. My shoes are going to be wet from walking in it. Here's a sprayer track. Yep, you do knock it down. We do have crop dividers on, but the crop is actually, it's too short yet, really, for the crop dividers to work properly. I know what you're thinking. Mike, have you actually calculated out what your tracks cost? Absolutely. You don't even want to calculate that out. You can pay for a spray plane to come in here and spray it twice. Easy. If you have a really good crop at good prices, you could probably do it almost 3 times. And what did Donovan do here? Why do I see 2 sets of tracks? Donovan. Because when you finish whatever you're doing, you always got to follow your headland tracks all the way back out because you're just tracking yourself. You don't make another set of tracks. That was obviously by accident. So anyways, yes, that's the reason why we have a spray plane, is because it literally just pays for itself, though it doesn't when you have 3 years of drought down home. Some of these will pop back. You'll be surprised what will pop back. You won't lose it all. But maybe come desiccation, we would look at a plane. And the reason why is because it's one thing not to have the money versus say it costs you, let's just say it costs you, I don't know, let's say 10 bucks an acre or 15 bucks an acre in tracks or something. It's just round number, right? 10 bucks an acre, round number. If I have to spend $10 an acre 2 times, which is $20 an acre, so if I got to spend $20 an acre per quarter, that's a check I have to write versus me coming out here harvesting it. And yes, I have tracks, and yes, I just don't harvest as much grain. Does that make sense? Makes sense. But no, things are looking good up here, guys. Super happy. Super happy. Let's go look at some lentils. Sound good to you guys? Let's go look at some lentils. But as we're walking to the truck here, I know you guys got a question or two, so let's just answer that right now. So, Mike, spray plane, obviously cheaper than tracking down your crop. You have a spray plane at the South Farm. It's like a 3-year drought again, so you're obviously not using it. Why don't you just bring the spray plane, get your younger brother to fly that puppy up here and spray this stuff for you and save yourself a pile of money? That is a great question, and let's answer that. So the reason why we don't do that is because, one, our land is fairly spread out up here. We don't have like a little wee block right beside the farmyard. It's very spread out, and there is no paved runway strips really convenient for Brian to spray this. And it's not like, okay, you know, you got one block of say 1,000 acres here and whatever, another block of a couple thousand acres there. That's not the case. It's like 140, 150. Drive 10 miles, another 130, and then you got another 4 miles over there, another 125, and then maybe you have a section over there, and then you're going to go way over there to another 800 acres or whatever. it's super inefficient. It's because it's just wherever we can, you know, find land, buy land, rent land, whatever it is. So that's really inefficient spray painting. If you got to commute a long way to do one, and then you got to commute a long way. So that doesn't really interest Brian, I guess you could say. And even if we got over that hurdle, then there's the whole, well, he needs 3,000 feet paved. He won't land it on gravel. Kind of illegal to land it on the highway. We do not have a paved runway. We don't even have a runway at the farm up here at the north one. That is something that is talked about. You know, maybe we should build one, but it would probably cost, well, it's going to cost probably $300,000 to $500,000 just to pave it. So that's not to build it. That's just to pave it. So now you're looking at towns with 3,000 minimum feet paved runways. And because you got to remember, these plains are Brian's babies. All right. These things do not sit out in the sun. They go in every night. If he shuts down and calls it for like even 1 hour, he's like, okay, I'm just going to take a 1 hour break. I'm going to go. That plane gets put right back into his hangar. It does not sit outside ever, which is kind of hard when you're up here at another town's runway. So you would have to build a hangar. You would have to build a hangar at, say, wherever town, which maybe multiple towns. One town for that chunk. Then you're going to have to go to another town over there for that chunk and build another hangar. So it's really impractical. So that's the reason why Brian hasn't really taken any interest to come up to spray this, because where's his hangar? Where's his plane going to sit? Where's it going to sleep? And how far does he have to commute? So custom guys, they don't care as much. I shouldn't say they don't care as much, but they're literally in this to make money. So they'll land these things wherever and keep carrying on and commute their way home and put it wherever they're going to put it. So Brian, these things are his baby. So totally different story. So that's the reason why, guys. Now let's go look at some lentils. All right. So you can't hardly see a track here, but there's a track right there and then one right here. We've already sprayed these I almost said chickpeas, lentils, red lentils, one time. So you typically want to spray them just before they fill in, and which they have. Fill in means they kind of fill the rows in. They're nicely filling in here, which is great. Look at that. That looks awesome. They're pretty tall too. Like, they look really good. Let's see if we can turn into the sun here a little bit. So they're flowering. That's a good sign. See these little white flowers on them here? See, I don't know, maybe you guys can't see all this. There we go. That means future pods. One flower per pod typically. And I don't see any podding. Just flowers. Sorry, I'm just looking here. No pods, just flowers. So, see if we can look for any disease. Pull these back. You're looking for any asticida. They can get asticida as well, which is, we all know that there's like little black, brown spots that would start on the leaves. They look pretty good. They look really good, actually. Anthracnose is another one you got to watch for. That'll happen down here. You got to look at the stem. So it will actually, if you get too much rain, especially once they're filled in, like this, that's super humid and wet and dewy underneath this canopy, right? So then basically, in a sense, their stems can start to rot. And if that happens, well, then it can't pull up the nutrients that it needs to pull up, and you're going to have yield loss. It's not hard to figure out. And you would see a lot of brown stems. Like, it would not look good. Like, we've had anthracnose many times, actually, down south. And you pull that canopy over, and it's just brown. Like, just stems are brown. And once it gets to that point, it's pretty much too late. Like, you can go out and spray it, but you don't want it to get to that point. So that's one of the reasons why you would spray it, hopefully before it fills in. Keep the plants healthy under there. So why would you spray it a second time? Because we're getting geared up and we need to know if we're going to have to spray it a second time. I don't think we need to spray it yet. So another thing that they'll get is mold, white and gray mold. I believe there's 2. We've also had that in wet years. So that will typically come later once it's podding, and they will develop that actually on the plants and the leaves. I think I might even have some pictures of it, but it's noticeable. Like you'll see like little chunks of mold on them. They're unhealthy looking. And so you can spray for that. And that's what we would be spraying for. Well, obviously some anthracnose as well, but mold. And mold typically comes later. So only some fungicides control mold, and only some fungicides control like your anthracnose as well. So normally when you want to be spraying these, you want to spray the mold fungicide last, because it typically comes later. So you focus on your anthracnose and asticida, and then you focus on your molds and stuff later on. Another thing lentils can get is aphids. When we grew lentils, well, we've got aphids both places, but not last year, so not 2022, but 2021, which was a crazy drought up here, actually, come to think about it. It was actually a crazy drought everywhere, but we grew lentils up north, and I was not paying close enough attention because aphids, I always was just assumed was more of a southern thing. Nope, it's any lentil thing. And they came and they took probably 1/3 of my yield off my lentils up here. 1/3. They'll do a lot of damage quickly. So what they do and what they are, we will get, it's primed to look, obviously we're early yet, but you walk out in here with black pants or something like that once these things are like filling, like potted and filling, and you'll just be, if your legs are covered with little green bugs, super duper small, you have a problem. You should probably spray. There is an actual threshold, but I would be spraying. So what they'll do is, just imagine every flower having a pod, right? Oh, hold on, someone's trying to call me here. Sorry about that. So just imagine every flower being a pod. Those little aphids will come and they'll suck it. They're little suckers. They'll suck the moisture right out of these things. And then your pod would abort that seed. And they can do that. They could suck 6 pods off one particular plant. Like, they do a lot of damage, and they always start from the bottom and work their way up. So that's another thing you got to watch out for. Now, the downside to lentils up here is they need a certain amount of heat stress to pod. Otherwise, they'll love to grow. Anyone can grow lentils. You could grow lentils where they can't even hardly grow crop, because it's just a plant. It's going to grow. It might grow this tall, not have a single pod on it, but, they're going to grow. So growing the lentils is not the problem. It's making them, well, not that you can do anything about it, but hoping that you get enough heat stress to pod these dang things up here, which is the reason why no one grows them, or very, 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 very few people grow them, is you might spend fungicide app, insecticide app for aphids, and the list goes on for you to try grow this crop up here, because if you don't control the diseases, well, you're not going to have a crop to begin with. But if you keep hitting it with a fungicide, it stimulates plant growth. Basically, a fungicide to plants is like giving you an energy drink. You've been out here, you're working hard, the sun's beating down on you, and you're like, oh man, getting a little stressed out maybe. And as soon as you give yourself an energy drink, you feel good. You're no longer stressed, you no longer have that thirst. It's kind of like that with plants. You're going to give these things an energy drink. They're going to love it. They're going to sit back. They're going to relax, take in the sun, and be like, woo, feel awesome, and forget to pod. But if you don't hit it with a fungicide, then they're going to be kind of, stressed, heating. They're like, man, I got a bit of a cold. My throat's sore. I don't feel very good. And you would think, that would actually stress them. And we have used some disease in chickpeas to stress them as well. So you can use that as a tool, but that's more of a last resort, okay? Because then you're basically playing with fire. Anyways, we hope that we're going to get enough heat on these bad boys and stress on these bad boys to pot it. We will be watching these things like a hawk. They're looking awesome. They're filling right in. And I don't think we'll spray them quite yet because you don't want to just give these things a cushy life. Anyways, this video is getting super long, and I apologize. I could keep talking about plants and plant health and why you're doing it, why not you're doing it, but I'll just keep talking till I'm blue in the face and you guys be bored out of your minds. So anyways, I'll let you guys go. I will catch you on the flipper. Lentils are looking good. We're gonna finish the durum up here. We're spraying Fusarium for the durum. We were gonna move into lentils, but I think we might just hold off here a little bit longer. Anyways, adios amigos. Talk to you later.